Let's get the word in from Vishal Manchanda, who is joining in now. He's a pharma analyst at Systematics Group. Vishal, thanks a lot for joining in. You heard Ekta out on, what are the key expectations this time. But from your end, which are the stocks that you would be, say, most bullish on? And which are the pockets in the pharmaceutical space that you track where you see maximum traction this earnings season?
So I think Q4, my sense is it would be strongest for Zydus and Sun Pharma. So that is where we'll see most upside from a quarter-over-quarter perspective. So Zydus has got two elements that will shape their QOQ growth. One is Q4 is generally very strong for them for their consumer business, their wellness business. So that will help them on the earnings. Then second, in the US, they will have Revlimid adding on top of the numbers meaningfully. So a very meaningful addition from Revlimid, which will swing earnings favorably for them, significantly favorably for them. Likewise, for Sun Pharma, I think it will primarily be driven by generic Revlimid in the US. So we'll see contribution kicking in from Revlimid. I think for these two companies, the US business is a bit volatile over quarters, and Q4 tends for the generic business, Q4 tends to be stronger because of the Revlimid volatility in the numbers. So that's where the surprise will be. But Lupin overall will continue with the strength that they've been showing in the last few quarters.
Okay. So Zydus, Sun, and then Lupin, right? These are the three areas.
Lupin probably might not surprise, but they continue with that momentum that they...
But Zydus and Sun, you're saying, compared to what consensus is expecting, there may be upside surprises here for these names.
Correct.
Okay. Now, let me flip that question on the downside. Compared to consensus, where is the risk of downgrades?
So I think probably Divi's can probably not deliver to the extent the street is delivering. At least the annual expectations were earlier very high, which were later brought down. And I think Q4 is generally strong for them, but if they falter there, if the Q4 numbers don't turn out to be strong as they are typically are for Divi's, we can see a downward revision.
For do you track Laurus, Vishal?
Laurus is something not in my coverage, but probably they are doing a bit better in Q4 than they have been doing in the last few quarters.
Okay, there is a downgrade, I think, this morning from Goldman Sachs. But it'll be interesting to see whether some of the orders, right, where the street has been waiting for, they got the capacity, but they're waiting for orders from MNCs, etc. So we'll see if that comes through. In terms of commentary, especially on the US side, every quarter there is a bit of improvement that maybe pricing, etc. is bottoming out. Do you expect that to be reiterated? And could that kind of spark a general level of interest continuing for companies focused on the US generic market?
So I think on the pricing, a lot of re-rating has already happened in the stocks.
Okay.
So we are yet to see action on the prices. So obviously they have moderated, the erosion has moderated, but we still haven't seen prices moving up. And that is what probably the stock prices are factoring in a bit about prices starting to move favorably. So I don't think we can really predict that because it all depends on the demand supply, and supply continues to be strong. So we have manufacturing assets that continue to supply. There have been bankruptcies in the US, but all those bankruptcies have been sorted. These plants have again come back.
Got it. I just have two quick questions for you. One, do you track Entero Healthcare by any chance? I mean, there is a big move today, 20% higher. But of course, Jefferies has initiated coverage on them. Any thoughts on this one? Because it's been loss-making for 3 years. So I'm just trying to understand why the sudden euphoria on this stock.
So I track a competitor of Entero, Sasta Sundar Ventures. So both these players are into pharmaceutical distribution. And the sentiment around the space is pharmaceutical distribution will eventually become a very large segment of the pharma. So currently, pharmaceutical distribution is unorganized in India with 92% of the share with unorganized segment. And the expectation is it might flip. So probably over a 10 years period or a longer period, the organized segment would have the 90% share and unorganized would disappear potentially. So that's the sentiment behind pharmaceutical distribution, and they've been growing well. So they've been growing much faster than IPM and have been garnering share. So
Okay.
people are expecting they might turn up. So profits should improve from where they are today and keep improving every year over year.
Okay, so you said which is the other one? Sasta Sundar Ventures, right? Is the one that you track and you like.
Yes, that's
Okay.
at a more trading at a better valuation compared to Entro.
Yes. Okay, got it. The 309 rupees at the moment. Okay, flashing on the screen there. Thanks for that. The other space I wanted to ask you about was diagnostics. Any thoughts on this space and any stocks that you like? Metropolis just came out with their Q4 performance as well. Any thoughts there?
Sorry, I don't cover the diagnostic space. We won't be able to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
Vishal, as we go into the rest of the year with US elections, etc., do you expect, and general rhetoric rises? I mean, it's all obviously campaigning, and but it does create sometimes a bit of an issue near terms for stocks. Do you expect any of that, or from a pharma side, not really this time?
I don't think generics will be impacted. There's always noise around pricing while elections are closer. Pricing of innovator drugs, pricing of generic drugs. So whatever it is, rebates. So there is always noise around all these areas. But the stocks have stopped reacting to the noise now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We see that like clockwork, right? Before every election, and then of course things are okay post that. Vishal, we leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us and running us through your expectations for the fourth quarter. So the two names, if you're looking for earnings surprises, are Zydus and Sun Pharma on the upside, and chance of an earnings disappointment coming through as far as Divi's is concerned. Vishal, of course, also talking about a whole host of other names that he tracks in that particular space. When